You have arrived at our channel. Sharon Stone became one of Hollywood's most iconic sex icons with only one on-screen moment, the notorious leg-crossing sequence. However, a few years down the road, she had an abrupt collapse and a 9-day brain hemorrhage, leaving her with a mere 1% chance of survival. The unthinkable occurred. She pulled through, but she was bereft of all she had: her mobility, her recollection. After their divorce, her husband remarried and battled for custody of their child. After she became a punchline, Hollywood ignored her. How did Sharon Stone get back up from the lowest point of her celebrity and isolation? You can count on this story to make you feel something. The birthday of Sharon Stone is March 10, 1958. In the Pennsylvania town of Meadville, where fields seemed to go on forever, where industry was the center of daily life. Dorothy Stone was a homemaker and accountant, and her father, Joseph, was a factory laborer. She was the second of 4 siblings. The family lived in a modest home. Their lack of wealth was never an issue, though. Sharon stood out from a young age on. She was able to walk and talk before she turned 1. Her incredible brilliance was soon acknowledged by others in her vicinity. She was a genuine genius with an IQ of 154. Unfortunately, her genius did nothing but drive her farther into isolation. Not only was she the most intelligent student in her class, but her classmates also thought she was the most peculiar. Her friends made fun of her, describing her as an oddball and a bookworm. Sharon came to terms with her solitude, but she was always an outsider. Even if everyone else avoided her, the reality within her home was even worse. Because of a horrible secret she couldn't tell anyone, Sharon was terrified for a long time. Because her grandfather had harmed her, she had a difficult, traumatic, and anxious upbringing. In order to stay alive, she pushed the memories to the back of her mind and pretended they never occurred. However, anguish of such kind does not go away. It does nothing more than lie dormant, ready to emerge at the appropriate time. The traumatic recollections didn't resurface like a phantom nightmare until therapy years later. This disturbing reality was initially disclosed by Sharon in her memoir, The Beauty of Living Twice. She had endured physical violence as well as verbal threats. Her grandpa threatened to have her executed if she dared to speak out. She was a child who had no one to turn to for help and nowhere to run. Attempting to stay alive was the daily struggle. A battle against horror rages nightly. An unforeseen event occurred when Sharon's grandma responded to her grandfather's death. After she locked the door, she made Sharon and her sister stand over his corpse and stare at it. Nothing to shed, no rationale. Although the agony continued after then, the nightmare ended at that time. Her own father made the wounds from her upbringing much deeper. Joseph Stone was a very disciplined and hard-nosed parent who frequently resorted to severe punishments while dealing with his children. But by the time Sharon was 14 years old, she had had enough. She once stood her ground, locked eyes with him, and demanded, "Do you have to hit me again to feel like a man?" while he screamed at her. The impact of the words was like a shock to him. As soon as he froze, Joseph Stone sobbed uncontrollably. Sharon had never before witnessed her father so defenseless until that moment. He never again touched his children after that. A different kind of torture plagued her formative years as well. Her peers teased her even though she did quite well in class. Nobody genuinely desired to be her companion. Traditional notions of beauty were at odds with her appearance. Others saw her as the unattractive underdog. Following that, an accident that would be etched in memory came as yet another twist of destiny. Sharon was flung from her horse at the age of 14 when the terrified animal sprang forward and became entangled in a clothesline. Her neck was badly hurt when she fell to the ground with a thud. The agony remained for a long time, serving as a continual reminder of how precarious life may be. Sharon continued to achieve academically despite all the scars she had sustained. She received a full scholarship to Edinburgh University and graduated early from high school at the age of 15. She felt out of place on college the second she stepped foot there. There seemed to be no way out of her predicament. Leaving Meadville was the only way for Sharon Stone to make a change in her life, she realized. However, chances don't materialize out of nowhere. When you're ready to grab them, they'll show up. And it was at a beauty contest that she had her first epiphany. Sharon took the recommendation of her loved ones and entered a local pageant, even though she had never considered herself one. Despite her low expectations, she ended up winning. She couldn't have escaped the sleepy little village without that title, which was more than simply a ribbon. After Sharon accepted a modeling job offer in New York, she didn't take long to learn that the fashion industry was cruel. Despite her magazine appearances and contract with Ford Modeling Agency, she was unhappy in her role. It was lifeless, standing for the camera in glitzy clothes without saying a word or showing any emotion. Being a model wasn't her only career goal. Extra was what she desired. Hollywood was unwelcoming as her newfound passion for acting took center stage. Rejection after rejection began to pile up as she continued to attend casting calls. Some people thought she was plain ugly and didn't have the smoldering charm of a leading lady. Producers at the time saw Sharon Stone as little more than a blunt-featured country girl who lacked the suppleness necessary to be a Hollywood beauty. However, she would discover her own method to demonstrate her worth if Hollywood was going to reject her because of it. In 1980, she got her big break in the film industry with a little part in the Woody Allen-directed Stardust Memories. It was merely a passing show, just a string of unremarkable lines. Sharon, though, saw it as a watershed moment. Finally, she had stepped foot in the world of her dreams. She kept acting in the years that followed, landing parts in films including Irreconcilable Differences, 1984, and Deadly Blessing, 1981. She stayed a forgettable celebrity despite starring with greater names in film. The 1992 film Basic Instinct had an unimaginable impact on Sharon Stone's life. She was only a middle-tier actress up until that point, long denied any real fame in Hollywood. Everything shifted, though, when she portrayed the enigmatic, alluring, and crafty Catherine Trammell. Sharon Stone went from being a little-known actress to a worldwide sex icon in the blink of an eye. Neither a surprising plot surprise nor incisive conversation were part of the scene that sent shockwaves around the globe. There has never been a more divisive scene involving a crossing of the legs in film. Catherine Trammell sat serenely in the middle of a crowded interrogation room as a team of investigators attempted to implicate her in a crime. She deftly sidestepped their inquiries, transforming the questioning into a nervous showdown of intellect, all while flashing a rebellious grin and intense, penetrating gaze. On the other hand, Sharon Stone's carefree leg lift and reversal was the scene that transcended the writing. Even though it was brief, the shot ignited a firestorm in Hollywood. This scene has gone down in cinematic history as one of the most halted sequences ever. A Veet survey later declared it the most sexiest on-screen leg-crossing scene. Sharon Stone's unwitting creation of an image caused her fame to soar overnight, rather than her performance. Sharon Stone later said that she had been tricked into filming the scene after the movie came out. Director Paul Verhoeven had requested that she remove her panties before filming began, she recalled, because the white cloth reflected the light on camera in an odd way. He reassured her that there would be no explicit content and that all that would be seen was a faint reflection of light. When the test screening happened, Sharon was shocked, even though she trusted the filmmaker. She had been misled into thinking very little by what the scene had shown her. After slapping Paul Verhoeven across the face at the screening, she felt deceived and promptly contacted her lawyer, insisting on the scene's removal. However, such was never the case. The director adamantly maintained that the shot had already been approved by the studio and that the picture could not be changed. After the fact, Paul Verhoeven disputed everything, saying that Sharon Stone was well aware of what was going on while filming. However, what is real? Nobody save those directly engaged can say for sure. That one scene became the turning point in Sharon's career, regardless of whether she gave her consent or not. Under an enduring specter, Sharon Stone became one of the world's most recognized actors by following her instincts. Unfortunately, her dreams of stardom never materialized. She quickly came to terms with the fact that Hollywood only saw her in one light, as a sex symbol. Sharon was determined to make her own way in the industry if she ever wanted to be taken seriously as an actress. She started looking for more substantial parts, persons whose allure necessitated more than mere enticement. After that, in 1995, she had her first Oscar nomination for the picture Casino. Sharon portrayed the captivating yet tragically complicated Ginger McKenna in Casino. Emotional complexity, psychological richness, and genuine acting abilities were necessary for this part, rather than just good looks. Sharon Stone was finally recognized by Hollywood for more than her good looks. She has genuine skill, but she required more than one picture to completely shed her image. In Lovelace, 2013, she played the polar opposite of Catherine Trammell, the harsh, unfeeling mother of Linda Lovelace, marking a major turning point in her career. The glitzy outfits and alluring looks have long since disappeared. On television, Sharon Stone took on a whole new persona, one who was icy, distant, and unforgiving. She wanted to show that she could play any role, therefore she did this. Through it all, she never stopped pushing herself on TV. Playing a stern and unyielding prosecutor on Law and Order allowed her to escape the alluring image that had dogged her for so long. Sharon Stone's marriage was a major life event that occurred at the same time as her career was taking off. She tied the knot with famous TV producer Michael Greenberg on August 18, 1984. Sharon was the star and Greenberg was the producer on the set of the Vegas Strip War, where they first crossed paths. Their romance blossomed rapidly, and they made the decision to get married shortly after. It appeared to be the ideal union initially. Two individuals with similar goals and aspirations who are employed in the same field. But the glitz and glamour of Hollywood altered the course of events. Their 3-year relationship ended on January 20th, 1987. Finalizing the divorce took an additional 3 years, even though their marriage had already terminated. No one ever really said why they broke up, but rumors circulated that Sharon Stone, whose career was booming, didn't want to be tied down by marriage. Prominent productions by Michael Greenberg include Stargate SG-1 and MacGyver. The chasm between their jobs may have grown wider, too, as Sharon's popularity grew in Hollywood. Major possibilities were coming Sharon's way, and she refused to let anything stop her from pursuing her career goals, despite the rumors that she put her marriage last. After his divorce, Greenberg continued his professional and personal life, and he dated and later married Nikki Smook, with whom he had 2 daughters. At the same time, Sharon persisted in following her own route, which was beset by unforeseen challenges. Sharon Stone began dating country music superstar Dwight Yoakam in 1992, at the peak of her instinctual popularity. The pairing of a stunning Hollywood actress with a rough-and-tumble Western guitarist caused quite a stir in the media. Sharon looked stunning in a blue velvet ensemble and Dwight, in his trademark cowboy hat, at the 1992 Academy Awards. The two of them made quite an impression. Their relationship swiftly fell apart, though, and it became one of Sharon Stone's greatest regrets behind all the glitter. Everyone is confused about what first attracted Sharon to Dwight, but a number of sources claim that their romance quickly devolved into a nightmare. Dwight felt stifled by the rumors that Sharon was too possessive and envious. The reality was evident, even though they never publicly acknowledged the rumors. Under pressure, they broke off all communication and showed no regard for one another. Sharon Stone made no effort to conceal her contempt for the relationship when thinking on it years later. Her most stunning statement wasn't even the one she made once. Another time, she made a scathing comment in response to a question regarding her romantic history with Dwight. It was as unpleasant as eating a mud sandwich kissing Dwight. There was more to this than meets the eye. The Orlando Sentinel interviewed him in 1995, and he made the official declaration. Sharon wasted little time answering the question of whether or not she had really likened Dwight's kiss to a dirty sandwich. It was me who said it. It was clear from her reaction how much she regretted the connection. Regarding Dwight Yoakam, he opted to keep mum. I was emotionally clumsy after ending a 5-year relationship, he said in response to a question about Sharon that came up in an interview with the Los Angeles Times. We went on a date. A brief, dispassionate response. No justifications. Devoid of feeling, as if their past was nothing. One thing was evident from their reactions, even though they didn't talk about the real reasons for their breakup. Since they both wished to put this chapter in the past, Sharon Stone went on with her life as a single woman, even trying to find love on Bumble in her later years. At the same time, Dwight Yoakam felt secure. After dating for 10 years, he finally tied the knot with photojournalist Emily Joyce in 2020. Dwight Yoakam and Sharon Stone have obviously moved on from that situation. Their reactions to the end of their romance, particularly Sharon's scathing words, make it appear like this wasn't your run-of-the-mill split. She felt remorseful about that part of her life. Unfortunately, Sharon Stone would go on to have other relationships that were more painful than joyful. Sharon Stone's relationship with film producer William J. McDonald began immediately following her split from Dwight Yoakam. No longer was it a casual dating relationship. They appeared to be prepared to move forward with their marriage plans when they became engaged. Despite the fact that this romance seemed to be a more stable part of Sharon's romantic history, it ended in just as much turmoil. In 1993, Sharon and William crossed paths on the set of the film Sliver, which was produced in part by McDonald. But the timing of their blossoming romance was the issue, not how it did it. Despite meeting Sharon, William McDonald was still married to Naomi Baca, a marriage that had lasted not even 5 months. As a result, the relationship between William and Sharon became embroiled in controversy, prompting the question, was it genuine love or only an affair? William quickly announced his relationship with Sharon to the public and left his wife for her. Even McDonald's ex-wife wasn't overjoyed when word of their engagement spread. Naomi McDonald spoke up. Contrarily, she blatantly accused Sharon Stone of being a house wrecker. Naomi said of her in a harsh tone, "She's heartless and cruel." During an interview on the tabloid show A Current Affair, "My dream was stolen by Sharon Stone. My spouse was taken by her." Sharon found herself in the middle of public scrutiny when her charges caused a media frenzy. In response to growing criticism, Sharon Stone's representative defended the actress, saying that she and McDonald had no romantic involvement prior to McDonald's divorce filing. The explanation, nevertheless, failed to persuade. People had good reason to be suspicious because everything transpired so rapidly between McDonald's departure from his wife and his engagement to Sharon. Maybe there were other people involved in this relationship with ulterior intentions besides Sharon. When it came to producing, William McDonald was no ordinary man. He realized the significance of stardom. He may have been able to advance his career by associating with the most popular Hollywood actor at the moment, or, preferably, become well-known. Was he using Sharon's reputation to propel himself into the spotlight, or did he genuinely love her? There was no clear evidence, but when a man runs away from his wife after only 5 months of marriage to become engaged to a famous actor, one can't help but wonder what he's really up to. Their romance, for whatever reasons, was short-lived. Sharon and William's 1994 separation was even more contentious than their infamous 1994 engagement, which lasted less than a year. In addition to breaking off the engagement, Sharon Stone sent the diamond back via FedEx. A chilly, unwavering action. Someone who seemed determined to wipe this chapter from her life clean, as if it were her last wish. The media did not hesitate to make money out of the situation. Sharon made a strong statement by returning the ring in such a way that it was clear she regretted it. Speculation was rife in Hollywood tabloids. Upon realizing this wasn't the love she had hoped for, did Sharon decide to walk away, or did she become aware that she was being used? Even when his association with Sharon Stone had faded, William J. McDonald persisted in his career in movies. And Sharon, who had yet another relationship in the spotlight, continued her quest for true love. The difficulties she had been experiencing in her love life, however, were far from over. It appeared like Sharon Stone had it all by the time she turned 40. She had an impressive career as an influential Hollywood actress, and now she was in a committed relationship with Phil Bronstein, who had been the executive editor of the San Francisco Examiner and later the San Francisco Chronicle. Phil appeared to be Sharon's ideal match when they first crossed paths in the late 90s. He exuded the charisma of a powerful guy while being charming, wealthy, and clever. Their public appearances together propelled them to stardom, and they soon became known as one of Hollywood's golden couples. They tied the knot in an extravagant ceremony reminiscent of a fairy tale on February 14, 1998. Sharon saw it as the start of a new chapter, the fulfillment of her lifelong desire for family happiness, while the press referred to it as a fantasy romance. However, she went through mental and physical anguish during her years with Bronstein, despite the glitzy exterior. Tragically, Sharon's body failed her in her lifelong desire to have a biological child. She was unable to bring a pregnancy to term due to her autoimmune condition and endometriosis. She went through 9 miscarriages in her lifetime. Every pregnancy began with a glimmer of optimism but ended in tragedy. The agony she endured was unbearable. The thrill of seeing the positive lines on a pregnancy test, the many nights of grieving in silence, and then the heartbreak of seeing it all go away. With every setback, she clung to hope. At some point, Sharon and Phil made the decision to adopt. A gorgeous baby boy with large, expressive eyes named Roan Joseph Bronstein was welcomed into the world in the year 2000. At that time, he was Sharon's one shining star. Sharon Stone appeared to have finally found happiness on the outside with her little but ideal family, her wealthy husband, and her beloved kid. However, she couldn't cling to that joy for much longer due to the hand of fate. It started with a seemingly innocuous sign. Sharon Stone was in the middle of a high-profile fashion event in Milan, Italy, when she felt a crushing headache, as if someone had punched her in the skull. From the nape of her neck, a terrible pressure rose and engulfed her head, as if an unseen power were squeezing her brain from the inside out. It was downplayed because nobody took it seriously, possibly stress-related headaches, either a demanding schedule or the intense lighting of the stage. Unfortunately, after that, details started to blur. The area surrounding her trembled, no longer could be heard. As she stumbled forward, she eventually gave way and collapsed in the midst of the runway. Everything in the room went into a tailspin. The medical team hastened to her aid. Someone shouted. However, Sharon Stone was unable to react, move, or exert control over her own body. A complete blackout ensued. The actual misery started a few days later when I returned to the United States. An abrupt and agonizing agony tore through her body like a bolt of lightning one night as she was at home. Without warning or introduction, she was thrown backwards off the couch, her head banging against the table before she fell to the floor from the relentless onslaught inside her brain. It was as if Zeus had struck her with a lightning bolt. Like her brain was being pulled out from the inside. Every nerve in her body screamed in anguish. She fought for air, desperately trying to yell out for rescue. But her voice remained muted. She awoke to the startling sight of whirling ceiling lights and hazy individuals racing all around her. As the wheels squealed on the floor, she lay on a stretcher and was rolled along a chilly hospital corridor. Nobody was informing her about what was going on. Nothing remained in her memory. Her recollection seems to have been erased. The whole thing was in shambles. A thick fog enveloped her thoughts. Her films, the people she had known, were all broken into fragments she couldn't reassemble. A brain hemorrhage has been plaguing Sharon for the past 9 days. Blood trickled slowly into her brain, face, and spine during that period, bringing her closer to death with every passing second. The agony was unbearable. It wasn't merely physical pain. It was internal devastation, torture, and absolute misery. A domino effect occurred. As she watched, the doctors argued nervously and quickly in front of her. They brought up the subject of brain surgery, the prospect of her skull being partially removed, and the terrifying hazards involved. While the procedure was underway, no one informed her of her prognosis. Another patient, an unknown individual, lies next to her, was battling for his own life as well. He then breathed his final breath as Sharon watched. The image remained etched in her mind like a haunting nightmare. Death seemed to be closing in on her, and she could feel its weight on her. She was quite aware that she might be the next victim. Her mother was the only thought that came to mind at that instant. Her voice was weakening, but she managed to say "Mom" into the phone, experiencing bleeding in the brain. Her mother's response was a concise, "I'm coming" on the other end. "Bye, my dear." When the call ended, Sharon Stone knew she had crossed the last threshold before death. In the midst of the intolerable agony, as her vision became hazy, she beheld the illumination. The light wasn't as cold and clinical as a hospital. It seemed cozier, brighter, and calmer. As if she were being guided to a different place, a calming feeling swept over her. It got better. All dread vanished. But then, she was halted. Within that ethereal light, a known figure materialized. Her young son, Roan. His expressionless eyes met hers. He was too little to comprehend what was going on, but he was old enough to realize how much he needed his mom. She was unable to depart. She would never abandon her son. Sharon Stone believed she had triumphed over death when she finally opened her eyes following the terrifying nightmare. But the true struggle was just about to start, and she had no clue. She was so weak, pale, and underweight when she left the hospital that she hardly recognized her reflection. Her body mass had decreased by 18%. Because it couldn't bear her weight, her right leg trailed after her. Even writing her own name became impossible for her because of how badly her hands shook. Not only did she become illiterate, but she also stutters and has no command over her own voice. Her recollection was practically erased. It turned into a daily whirlwind of attempting to remember everything and then forgetting it all over again. She went looking for assistance, but she couldn't find any programs tailored to her specific situation. She was unable to regain normal gait with therapy. No therapy to help her control her stuttering. She would require years of rehabilitation, and her insurance wouldn't cover it. However, she remained determined. Sharon Stone gradually retrained herself. Reclaiming what had been stolen from her, she battled her own brain by learning to write her name from scratch and by speaking slowly and deliberately in front of a mirror. She sought strategies to engage her mind by speaking with neurologists, developing and enhancing each and every reaction and muscle. Second by second, hour by hour, she battled for her own freedom. A Buddhist monk she had an odd meeting with once informed her, "You have been reincarnated into your own body." This stuck with her. That line lingered with her. She experienced a profound sense of metamorphosis, as if she had died and been born again. Smell, sight, and touch were no longer her primary senses. She was unable to read or understand written material for a long time. Sharon Stone's entire recovery took 7 arduous years. A further devastating blow from life came at the exact moment she was beginning to climb again. Sharon Stone, as she lay in her hospital bed, held on to the hope that her loved ones were still expecting her to come home. Despite everything that had happened to her, she had faith that Phil Bronstein, her husband from 1998, would be there for her in her time of need. No, she was incorrect. Upon her return home, she was met with tragic news, as she was still weak and feeble. A divorce petition was filed by Phil Bronstein. I couldn't handle the shock. Everything she was hearing was unbelievable to her. The man she had trusted had moved on to another woman while she was relearning how to walk, talk, and write. And that was just the beginning. To get sole custody of their kid, he went to court. When Sharon's husband, who had promised to love her no matter what, was suddenly driving her farther into despair, she failed to understand. She couldn't stand a chance in court, though. She was too sick, too worn out, and too weak to fight an army of attorneys at the hearings. And she ended up losing it everything. Her hard-fought-for son, Roan Joseph Bronstein, will mainly reside with Bronstein, according to the court's ruling. Sharon was only allowed a limited number of visits. Her heart broke. "Did you know your mother starred in an adult-rated film?" the judge asked Roan during their court hearing. Sharon felt a knife pierce her heart with that question. She was judged as unsuitable for motherhood due to a film she had directed 10 years previously. She had lost her child due to an instinctual act and a fraction of a second of being naked. It was unbelievable to her that she was still being penalized for an old scene, especially in this day and age when nakedness on television had become the standard. But that was far from the last. The judge went on to say that she was being too concerned about Roan's health, bringing up the ridiculous allegation that she had proposed Botox injections for Roan's feet to hide their smell. An unfounded accusation that Sharon strongly refuted. Regrettably, the moment had passed. The custody fight was lost by her in 2008. While Roan stayed with Bronstein, Sharon found herself cut off from her own son's existence. The once wealthy woman lost her spouse, her child, and her entire family in the span of a few short years. However, the nightmare persisted. As her sorrow over her son's death continued to consume her, she found out her bank account was completely empty. Her life's work and the $18 million she had amassed were for nothing. Someone else's name was on her fridge, her phone, and everything else. Nothing remained for Sharon Stone. Either she would be annihilated forever or she would rise and reclaim everything. Sharon Stone's career took a devastating hit when Hollywood rejected her, compounding the emotional trauma she had already endured from losing custody of her son. She went from being a famous actress to someone nobody wanted to talk about. You have lost all credibility in Hollywood. Upon her return, she quickly discovered that nobody was there to greet her. Nobody seems to have seen the avalanche of film offers or the rich contracts that were waiting for her at her door. The filmmakers and producers who had once coveted her and referred to her as their creative inspiration no longer desired any association with her. Additionally, she encountered icy, unrelenting rejections whenever she sought out fresh chances. You've lost your appeal to moviegoers. You should not be a leading lady at this age. Someone fresher and younger is required. Sharon was made fun of by both her peers and the media, and she was also barred from some chances. The tabloids made fun of her collapse, painting her as a failed sex icon and a star whose star had gone downhill. Worse, the few parts she did obtain were unremarkable and unimportant, and they didn't help her career at all. She took any script that came her way in an effort to keep her Hollywood career afloat, but that just added to her growing list of disappointments. Catwoman from 2004. Critically panned and a financial catastrophe at the box office. It was thought that Sharon's nasty character was weak and absurd. Fundamental feeling 2. 2006. An epic bomb that was an attempt to reclaim previous greatness. Critics panned the picture for being stupid and out of date, and it went on to become a major failure that decade. In 2006, Bobby. The picture did well at the box office, but her modest part prevented it from propelling her to stardom. Nothing she did in the years that followed was commercially successful. Sharon Stone was no longer a star, though she kept working on smaller films. I long for the days of my successful career ending. The actress Sharon revealed, I still haven't regained my acting career in a Times interview. I long to resume my acting career, but this time I want to play strong, intelligent roles instead of weak, silly ones. Even though she had made every effort to regain her position in the industry, Hollywood had rejected her. That I couldn't keep up my good work astounded me. To the best of my ability, I gave it my all. December 20th, 2024, in The Guardian. However, Sharon Stone came to a realization after a long battle to regain her identity. Even if Hollywood left her high and dry, she would never let herself go. She began exhibiting her paintings in a gallery in San Francisco, marking a departure from her previous career in film, demonstrating that her star power was independent of Hollywood. Moreover, she vowed to devote her life to assisting women, especially those who were oppressed and broken by society. Sharon Stone transformed herself into an inspiration after being an outcast actress. However resilient she grew, there remained an unquenchable longing. Restoring what I previously had is my deepest desire. Get my actual job back. My life is something I long to get back. Sharon Stone. Can she reignite her Hollywood career? We have not yet written that response. Without a doubt, though, she has never given up hope. After a brief stint at the top of Hollywood, Sharon Stone fell into a dark hole of misery. My health, my fame, my family, and my job were all taken from her. However, she arose from the ashes of her failures and refused to be consumed by them. She didn't try to win over Hollywood or make them feel sorry for her. Upon her own, she rebuilt. In the years following her stroke, she fought for her life. She was all alone. She had everyone's skepticism when she returned. Hollywood walked away. Even though she was forgotten by the public, she never gave up. She fought relentlessly to regain what had been taken from her and relearned how to walk, speak, and write step by step. She endured 7 years of excruciating pain, yet upon her eventual recovery, she emerged stronger than ever. Sharon Stone's rebirth, however, served a greater purpose. By adopting Quinn Kelly and Laird Vaughn, she was able to re-establish her family. She was a rock for 3 people after being a mother who had her child taken from her. Neither the approval of Hollywood nor the label of sex symbol were any more necessary for her self-definition. She was more than just a mother, a fighter, and a survivor. The world was changed by Sharon Stone because of her prominence. Even though Hollywood was about to dump her, she channeled her voice into something more. After becoming one of the leading voices in the battle against HIV/AIDS, she helped raise more than $34 million for research. She championed the cause of the voiceless, constructed schools, and helped homeless children. However, there was a cost to sticking up for other people. She lost film deals after speaking out against HIV/AIDS. Hollywood portrayed her as challenging. However, she was no longer dependent on their blessing this time. There was a time when she had to battle for her own life. She now battled for a better world. When Sharon Stone was no longer needed, Hollywood cast her aside, viewing her as little more than a sex symbol. However, something was omitted. An emblem. She was never alone. She fought fiercely. Sharon Stone had been reborn stronger, more purposeful, and more powerful than ever before. She no longer needed to recapture what had been lost. Sharon Stone is more than simply a bygone sex symbol or the Hollywood left-behind lady. Now 67 years old, she has broken free of the image that previously imprisoned her and returned to the screen with a new identity, one that is deeper, stronger, and unconstrained. A new chapter of independence, art, and genuine tranquility has opened for her after all the triumphs, tragedies, and defeats. Sharon played Linda Tarleton in her 2024 comeback picture What About Love? Still, she wasn't done yet. She has two big productions coming out in 2025, Memoriam, starring Vicky, and Nobody 2, playing Lindina. Both are currently in post-production. These projects demonstrate Sharon Stone's dedication to the film industry and suggest that Hollywood will not ignore her indefinitely. But she's not focusing only on acting anymore. Her life has been greatly impacted by painting in the past few years. She is about to have an exhibition at Arapaces, Rome, one of the world's most esteemed art venues. Her previous shows have taken place in Berlin, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. Now she tells her stories with a paintbrush in a more profound, personal, and freeing way than when she used her body and expressions to make cinematic masterpieces. Both Sharon Stone's art and her public appearances reflect her rebirth. At the 42nd Turin Film Festival in November 2024, she was presented with the Stella della Mole Award, a recognition of her significant contributions to cinema. This was more than simply a watershed moment in her professional journey. Her ability to persevere was demonstrated by this. Reclaiming her legacy, a once-rejected woman is now standing strong in Hollywood. Wearing a cape embellished with 3,000 silk organza flowers and a breathtaking crimson gown by designer Tony Ward, she mesmerized onlookers as she walked the red carpet. She was unconcerned with fads. She embodied the present. Sharon made waves again in January 2025, just a few months later, at the 82nd Golden Globe Awards, when she looked absolutely stunning. Her mere presence sent a strong message, not to mention a statement about style. You may still find Sharon Stone here. She is still radiant. She truly is legendary. Above all else, Sharon Stone has achieved inner peace. Through it all, she came to the realization that fame and love are not the keys to happiness. I've had enough of dating. I'm content when I'm alone. It's liberation, not solitude. Because her life is full on its own, she has no longer any need for a man to make her feel whole. She also finds direction from her spirituality. Her faith in the hereafter is so deep that she thinks her father, who passed away, is very much with her. As far as Sharon Stone is concerned, there is more to the universe than meets the eye, and some bonds are timeless and transcendental. A profound yet basic idea now guides her life. Choosing happiness is the key. It is essential that you do it daily. Luck isn't something she waits for. Not to linger on the past. On a daily, incremental basis, she makes her own happiness. Sharon Stone is more than just the sex icon who shocked the globe in the past. She is also a former Hollywood superstar. She possesses the strength, resilience, and unbreakability like a resurrected phoenix. Suddenly, she was a lady who had it all, a sensual icon who could only play roles that made others uncomfortable. Everything from her profession and stardom to her family and health, from being a queen left behind by Hollywood to becoming a fighter who stubbornly battled destiny. Nevertheless, Sharon Stone persisted farther. She didn't merely make it. She got back up, this time even more powerful. Nowadays, Sharon Stone is remembered for more than just her role as the sultry queen of the 90s. On the contrary, she represents strength of character and the refusal to give in to hardship. It was all for naught. But she got back up, took control of her life, and changed the ending to her own narrative. Sharon Stone's life is an inspiration because it demonstrates the power of determination, grit, and a refusal to give up in the face of adversity. Who are you to say you can't accomplish what she did? Show your support for the enduring legends by liking, sharing, and subscribing to their stories.